India has lashed out at Imran Khan after he granted provisional provincial status to Gilgit-Baltistan amidst growing protests. India called it a camouflage to hide illegal occupation and told Pakistan to vacate the Indian territory and not alter its status. China has been pressurizing Imran Khan government to change Gilgit status, a move which will help China's expansionist agenda once and for all. Imran's move has been seen as a massive protest from both the locals and the opposition, who have accused him of bleeding Kashmir. NewsX has been running a campaign to fill the seats allotted for POK and Gilgit-Baltistan in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly and set up a government in exile by giving voice to the persecuted locals. It is time to up the ante and fill the assembly seats now. Well, we'll talk about this with our guest. Joining me on this particular debate is Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, Major General Shashi Asthana, former additional DG Infantry, Global and Strategic and Defence Analyst, Major General Dhruv Katoch, Defence and Strategic Expert, Director of the India Foundation, and last but not the least, Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Welcome everyone. Let's talk about this. So Imran Khan, General Katoch, wants to hold elections in this provincial part of an illegally occupied land. But before you in fact think of elections, before you think of politically organizing a particular area, you need to get its hygiene right. You need to give the recognition that the locals have been asking for eons now. Your assessment of what kind of a further trouble the Imran Khan government will find itself in, as we already know that they're stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea. There is an atmosphere of mutiny in Pakistan as well. The kind of nincompoop decisions that Imran Khan has been making have also been backfiring, even with the Guardian Army. Your assessment of this announcement which has been made by Pakistan, and obviously India shot back saying that this cannot be done, it's an illegally occupied area. General Katoch?
Is that the saga of human rights violations in Gilgit-Baltistan have actually reached a tipping point. Now, this present move by the Imran Khan government, I also feel has much to do with what China is trying to do in Gilgit-Baltistan. The influx of the China-Pakistan economic corridor is dependent upon Gilgit-Baltistan. And India has made it very clear to them that this is on territory which constitutionally belongs to India and which by the constitution of Pakistan does not belong to Pakistan. Now this has put China into a bind really, and I think it is through their pressure to Pakistan telling the Imran Khan government to make this area or to do something about this area, which I think has really prompted them to go in for what we call it, giving it provisional constitutional status of a provisional state. Now, in my own view, I think this is a very dangerous trend because they are trying to alter a particular situation which firstly didn't exist. This is territory which was never that of Pakistan, and for all this time to now, as part of what is stated in the Pakistani constitution, it is not their territory. So they are treading on very thin ice. India, of course, has told them it is unacceptable. It is unacceptable what they are doing. But in my view, I think a great deal of pressure is being employed on Pakistan by the Chinese. And I think that is one of the reasons why they have gone in for something like this as of now.
Okay. General Asthana, great deal of pressure has been applied by China on Pakistan. What should be India doing about this? Obviously, this is not something which can be relegated to a Twitter back and forth between both the ministries of the countries. There has been political will in the past when it comes to sorting out the Kashmir issue. The Home Minister in the Parliament also mentioned POK, but we haven't heard much in that regard from the government. Do you think this is perhaps another catalyst moment whereby which India needs to act aggressively and act now?
India needs to act aggressively and act now. Certainly, there is no doubt about it. How aggressively, that I will specify. First, let's get the legal status right. As far as the instrument of accession is concerned, that's the only legal document which justifies or which signifies the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And as per that, POK, Gilgit-Baltistan, Shaksgam Valley and Aksai Chain belongs to India. There is no other legal document. All references, the UNSC resolution cannot overrule the instrument of accession. This is the legal status. As far as Pakistan is concerned, they were aggressors. It remains an illegally occupied territory. Also, the Shaksgam Valley ceded to China also becomes illegally occupied. Now, we from the foreign ministry, the kind of communications which are going, Pakistan, knowing by whatever they have been doing in past, they will throw it in dustbin. That's a separate issue. But the question is, number one, the claim is being kept alive. Number two, what has been told to them is that you vacate. Now, this vacate is also a condition of the UNSC resolution, because the step one said that they have to vacate the entire territory, and how thereafter we organize and we govern it, that depends on the Indian Parliament. This is the status. What can be done? What is practically possible? Practically, let's face fact. Gilgit-Baltistan today is not with us. I am not a warmonger who will advise on television to say, no, we should go to war tomorrow. Certainly we should not go to war tomorrow. And we should not be starting a war at the stage in which we are as of today. But the claim has to be kept alive at some point of time. Certainly we are going to take it back. Now, when will that certain point of time will come, that is a separate issue. Now coming on to the point which, the narrative which we have been speaking a number of times on your channel, and that is, can we have the government in exile, or can we have the representation of the people who are here already? Now, this requires again, I think, a constitutional amendment. What I am given to understand by certain law experts is that to be able to contest, you have to physically be there to file the nomination. So I think there is a little bit of constitutional amendment which is required. Technicalities of that will have to be worked out by the constitutional experts before we go in for a situation like this, that we declare a government in exile, or we allow the POK people to occupy the vacant seat which we have left vacant for them in the parliament as well as in the state assembly of J&K. So this is the this is my initial take. I'll take on questions as and when we finish off with the question.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador Sajjan, your assessment of this move which has been promulgated by Pakistan. Obviously, constitutionally, India has a right to intervene, to interfere, internationalize this illegal occupation and hold elections. But the fact of the matter is, do we need more than rhetoric at this point in time? Do we need more than just browbeating at this point in time?
Yeah, thank you very much, Vineet. A couple of points here. One, I think the timing is very, very important, because you see it has been with Pakistan, this whole area. First it was known as northern areas, now Gilgit-Baltistan. It's been with them from the end of 1947 till into the 5th province. It is really for it is the future, whatever is the situation as far as the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir, that is
okay, there seems to be a problem with the internet. We'll try and sort that out momentarily, but there seems to be some issue with that connection.
Hello.
Right, you're back, sir. Go ahead, sir. Complete your point.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So this position itself is getting very diluted by them to make Gilgit-Baltistan into the 5th province. And they are doing it, of course, because there are protests, there are demonstrations in that region. People are protesting because all the mineral assets, all the natural assets are being given whether it is water in terms of the dam that is being created. They are not getting any jobs, they are not getting any benefits out of the minerals and out of the assets that are in that area, in that territory. Political leadership has stated it. The Home Minister mentioned it on the floor of the House and Parliament, also the External Affairs Minister, when they very categorically said that the Gilgit-Baltistan area, also Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, they are an integral part of India, indivisible part of India, and they will be a part of India in the very near future. But I don't think that we can really satisfy ourselves just with that or the sort of statement that has come out from the Ministry of External Affairs. Those statements are good, they are important, they are useful because they give us markers. And what the External Affairs spokesperson yesterday has said, that Pakistan has no locus standi at all as far as this area is concerned, because as has been mentioned by the earlier panelists, this is an area that has the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir has acceded to India, and that is an irrevocable accession. So Pakistan is illegally occupying that part, that area, and it should be returned back to India. Now, what is it that we can do? I think, whenever Pakistan has raised the issue of Kashmir in global bodies, in international regional bodies, we have always spoken out against it, because we have said that the whole issue of Kashmir needs to be resolved on a bilateral basis. And of course, right now we have said that the only issue of Kashmir that is left is how to retrieve the Gilgit-Baltistan and the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir area from Pakistan and bring it here. I think what we really need to do is what we've been talking about, whether it is now Balochistan or here in Gilgit-Baltistan. Speak about the human rights violations by the Pakistan army. And I think we have enough evidence. We have so much of material, when the dam was being inaugurated, there are discussions that are going on as far as the construction of the dam is concerned, how the people had come out and they had said that the real problem is the Pakistan army, which has been torturing sari jo khaki vardi hai, usi ka ye problem hai. So I think the human rights violations, that is an issue going to Geneva, to the UN Human Rights Council, raising this particular issue, and also simultaneously reaching out to the people in Gilgit-Baltistan, because that is fertile ground, that is rich ground, and they also have huge problems in terms of the manner in which Pakistan has been handling it or mishandling it, not really dealing with the issue. And their poverty, their misery, that is not ending. And now with the arrival of the Chinese, there have been also so many other problems, that their women have been taken away and from here by Chinese men. They don't know what has happened to them. So there's a whole litany of complaints that these people have. So let us focus on the human rights aspects, and I think we will get a large number of people to come with us and to project this issue and to corner Pakistan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Compelling points there by Ambassador Sarjanhar Joita, but the fact of the matter is that if we have to pursue a diplomatic tangent in dealing with Pakistan, there must be an undiplomatic channel that also needs to be open with the people of Gilgit-Baltistan, perhaps galvanizing them into doing more against the current dispensation of Pakistan, so at least there is a movement on ground that will disturb the Pakistanis and force them to vacate Gilgit-Baltistan. What the Algerians did to France in 1962 perhaps is a good example of what can be done in Gilgit-Baltistan as well.
Vineet, you are right. I think what we also need to look out for, can Gilgit-Baltistan have Sheikh Mujibur Rahman? A leader that comes up, a leader or a group of people who can come up from Gilgit-Baltistan inside, and they oppose Pakistani rule over there. At the same time, let's not forget the kind of demographic change that has been taking place in Gilgit-Baltistan in particular. It used to be 86% Shia and there are certain other religions over there. From there, their numbers have gone down to 46%. I think less than 50%. that particular area is being flooded by, from Punjabis from the Punjab of Pakistan. So you see, this is a huge hypocrisy of the Pakistan government, of the Imran Khan government in particular. Whatever he is accusing India of doing in Jammu and Kashmir Valley, his government, the military there, is doing exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. And this is where I feel you not only encourage some kind of a resistance movement from inside over there. Obviously, I mean, we are saying it on TV. I'm certain there are other ways, there are many ways of doing it. But and the government knows best about it, or other non-government sources, however it is done. So first of all, you do that. Number two, you highlight. I totally agree with my previous panelists. You highlight Pakistan's misrule, not only to the world community. You go and talk to our Kashmiris first. That see what these people are doing in Gilgit-Baltistan. They don't have any development in terms of, Pakistan has not brought any development, and now the Chinese are there. You see, when we are talking about the Chinese, the very factor that, as everyone else talked about, basically they are trying to preempt any action by India to ensure that Gilgit-Baltistan is not a part of Pakistan, by making it quote unquote non-disputed. Because whenever India is raises the topic of CPEC with China, or has raised, they have always objected to the word Pakistan in the name, because saying that that particular corridor passes through Indian territory. So what they are doing, this is one way of preempting India's whatever action they take. I mean, whether we get back Gilgit-Baltistan or not, we don't know as yet. But the fact is that in the international community, at least, India needs to highlight these facts, and also to our own Kashmiris.
General Katoch, you cannot wish Gilgit-Baltistan to become ours. You just cannot, tell the world community that this is ours, and Pakistan has occupied it illegally. Joyita also made another point that the misrule of Pakistan has to be highlighted. How does one go about that? This is the age of information warfare, and the last time we checked, Pakistan is not doing too bad in it.
Vineet, I think as far as the shaping of the information environment is concerned, I do not think India has played it very well from 1947 till date. This, for some reason, appears to be a very great weakness in our ability to project a particular image, or a particular, or to highlight certain activities which have taken place in occupied Jammu Kashmir. And now, I use the word now Gilgit-Baltistan, or rather occupied Ladakh, because it comes into that region. Now, I think it is very important. It has been said earlier that we may have to carry out constitutional changes so that the reserved seats can be given to the people from Gilgit-Baltistan. I'm not really sure if a constitutional change is required. In my view, nomination can be done. And if nomination can be done, those people don't have to be from Gilgit-Baltistan, because they will never be allowed to come. We have people from Gilgit-Baltistan who are in India, who are settled down in the United States and abroad. Now, we need to get those people and put them in and nominate them. Now, at that point of time, because if we claim Gilgit-Baltistan to be ours, as it is ours, and we have kept these seats vacant for them since independence in the J&K Assembly and in the Indian Parliament, I think it is time that we fill those seats. Now, once we fill those seats, that gives political intent. I think it is very important messaging. The whole game is messaging. That is one. Number two, I think there has to be a show of force. We have to tell them back, either you vacate or we take it militarily. Now let Pakistan do whatever they have to do. We will take action as and when we want to. The time and place is our choice. But they have to be told the military option is available, and we will do it if required. Most importantly, I think we need to have an indigenous movement developing in Gilgit-Baltistan. As very rightly said by Joyita Basu, we need to have their Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in Gilgit-Baltistan. We need to have a son of the soil, and that son of the soil can be given tremendous support from India. because I am quite convinced we can take this, we can only take this area back if we have the support, the unstinted support of the entire population of Gilgit-Baltistan. And once we get that support, I think the rest of it can be stage managed appropriately. But we need to build that public opinion, both in India, in Jammu and Kashmir especially, and then within Pakistan and in Gilgit-Baltistan, and then across the world. In shaping the information environment, I think lies the key as of now.
Absolutely. General Asthana, Mujibur Rahman, the son of the soil, is somebody that can perhaps be depicted as a savior for Gilgit-Baltistan. But do you classify these as soft moves? And when is the opportunity to figure out the hard moves against Pakistan? Military moves against Pakistan to get back what is ours. We have about 4 minutes left on to this program, sir. Would request everybody, I'll come to everybody for quick 1-minute reactions and then we'll wrap up. Starting with General Asthana.
Okay. Firstly, in military, there's a terminology called as shaping the environment for liberation, or shall we say reunification of Gilgit-Baltistan and these areas to India, that is to the parent country. So, to shape that environment, certainly you require the disgruntled population exists. They have to be somehow galvanized. The support has to be galvanized. The population is the key. That is the center of gravity. You need a leadership, and that is where what Joyita and General Katoch mentioned. So that is the leadership which will galvanize that. We need to give them support nationally, internationally, within the country, outside the country. As far as allotting these seats are concerned, concept-wise, I totally agree. Constitutionally, it needs to be worked out. There are certain because if you recall, even for our people to nominate themselves, they have to physically go into that constituency and then nominate. So there are certain things, but it's not unsurmountable. It can be done. It must be done. And therefore, and since those people exist here, I think we must find ways and means. And even if some kind of tweaking is required, let's do that. So many things which we thought that cannot be done, like 370, but it has been done.
Okay.
So I think when a political will is there, I think it will be done and must be done. I'll leave for the others to comment.
Okay, Joyita, Ambassador Sajjanhar and General Katoch, quick half-a-minute reactions and we wrap up the show. We are completely out of time. Joyita, starting with you.
Did you ask me?
Yes, Joyita. Concluding remarks and then we wrap up.
Yeah, okay. I think what we primarily first thing we need to do among the several steps is that we need to get our communication strategy right. The problem with our communication has been that we are always very quiet about everything. We are always very diplomatic. No, we need to be more political. That is what we need. And we have to be a little brash. Without being a wolf warrior diplomats, perhaps with due respect to everybody, we need to make them a little edgy.
Ambassador Sajjanhar?
Well, Vineet, a number of ideas have emanated from here. And I think what we really need to do is we need to act in parallel on all of those. The most important thing would be to sort of, get people there, raise their voice and sort of, in a more militaristic manner protest against whatever is happening as far as Pakistan is concerned. And the hot button issues are things like injustice, water, lack of jobs, lack of development. And I think if we can put that together, because that is what really is able to give muscle to any sort of protest demonstration, that is what happens. And I think India can help put this together and then take it forward on the international platform, in the international arena. There are a number of NGOs, there are a number of UN agencies, bodies, etc. And India can help to take it forward. And of course, apply the pressure from here also, so that these people do not feel that they are alone, but that they are supported by a major power.
Absolutely. We've completely run out of time. Apologies to all the panelists. We couldn't get in every thought, but nevertheless, thank you so much for being here. We dip into a short break. Be right back.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.